Hello, everyone. I want you to all come on in and join me for another FlexCast. This is a Wednesday, and this is what we do here on Wednesdays. This is called Flex, Adapt with Intent. We are contemplating performing and visual arts during uncertain times, and I have had some really wonderful guests over the course of 4 months or so, and we've run the gamut from singer-songwriters to stand-up comedy, improv comedy, presenters, and we're gonna keep on rolling with all of this stuff. Right now, we're gonna talk with someone tonight who has come into a new position here in the Lehigh Valley and finding himself in a very challenging position as well because he started this job pretty much just before the onset of the pandemic. Why don't you please welcome my guest tonight, the Executive Director at Zoellner Arts Center at Lehigh University, Mark Fitzgerald Wilson. Hello there.
Hi, how are you?
All right. This is new, right? This is new and interesting.
It is. Thanks for having me on your show.
Not long ago, I know you were over on WDIY. You had a chat with Lehigh Valley Arts Salon, right? With Kate
I did.
Scuffle, I think. Yeah. This is a little different. It was a time when I would be over at WDIY, but I have not been going into the studio since March. It's just a little more than I'm willing to expose myself to right now. So welcome to the Lehigh Valley. You have come up here from Toms River, New Jersey, right? That was your last place. Is that where you lived, in that area?
Well, I worked down in Toms River and down the Jersey Shore, but I actually lived up in North Jersey, up in South Orange. So it was like an hour and 20-minute drive for me to go down to work every day.
Sure, I know the area. Actually, I know all of that. Well, I grew up in New Jersey, so been. It's not a very big state, so it's not hard to cover all that ground. And your job at when you were in Toms River, what was the name of that theater? It's the Grunin.
It's the Grunin Center for the Arts.
Center. Sure. And how did you find yourself coming here to Lehigh Valley? Just like one of those things, a job opportunity opened up?
Well, actually, I got in the car and I headed west.
Oh.
I mean, I should tell you that my sense of humor is a little corny because I'm originally from Iowa.
That's corny, all right.
Yeah, no. But yeah, I came out to here to work at Lehigh and the Zoellner Arts Center, because it was a great opportunity in the time frame. Of course, it's right in the middle of this pandemic, but to me, it's a great opportunity to do something when you're at a pause and really give yourself a chance to build and really get a chance to know folks too. So to me, it made sense. And I was a little familiar with the Lehigh Valley, prior to coming out here too. One of my sons, he's a sophomore at Muhlenberg College. He's a lacrosse player there. And for about 3 years, while we were in New Jersey, he would have a lot of lacrosse tournaments in the summertime. And at Lehigh University's Goodman Field, and so we would play there almost all the time. And I also went up to Jim Thorpe and did a lot of whitewater rafting there and some biking there. And we've been to an area doing a lot of hiking too. So at the Lehigh Water Gap. So a lot of the place here, I was kind of familiar with the outdoor activities. I didn't do much indoor itself, but for me, it was the fact that I was familiar with a lot of the outdoor activities here. I knew it would be something that my family would be able to enjoy too, since we do enjoy all those kind of outdoor kind of things.
That's cool. You got a bundle of children, don't you?
I do. I got 6 children.
Wow. All right. So this is incredible because I've raised 4, 2 that I actually gave birth to, and in 2 different sort of lifetimes. So that enough was quite a challenge to begin with. I want to hear about raising 6 children. I'm sure most of them they're all, like 5 of them are in the house with you now, right?
Yeah, so I gave birth to none.
But you helped.
Um,
But you helped.
yeah, so three are actually my stepchildren, but they've been with me for 15 years, so they're basically my
Yes,
children.
I understand.
One child is we adopted her 2 years ago, so she's been with us for a little bit of time now. And then the last two are twins, who are, I guess, my biological children, and they are the youngest ones in the house.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. So I want to ask you about opera. May I?
Sure.
Okay, because that's just beautiful. I was when I was reading and looking information about you, I saw that you were in a there was a production that came up in my search that was somewhere in Watchung, New Jersey.
Yes. Yeah.
What was that production?
I know it was either Magic Flute, possibly
Um,
Die Zauberflöte by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, probably.
beautiful. Wow. So where's your training?
Yeah, I actually got my training at undergrad school in Iowa at Simpson College, a small little corn town out there, and it is actually like a opera U, basically in the Midwest. So many folks who went to school there ended up being opera singers or running professional opera companies around the country and around the world. Then I went to the University of Houston for grad school, and that's where I did a lot more in-depth training with a wonderful teacher, Steve Smith. And he was one that really helped me understand how to, free up the voice more and learn how to communicate honestly. And so that was part of the things that I really learned is like not manufacturing a sound, not creating a opera quote unquote sound, but actually using your true voice and find out what that really is, and then utilizing that to the best of your ability. What I really love was he said, if I gave you a choice and I said I'm gonna buy you a car, a Mercedes or a Toyota, which one would you choose? And most people might say, "Oh, I'll take that Mercedes." But if he said that Mercedes was had no roof, had no tires, it had no seats, it was rusted out and molded inside there, or I give you this brand new 2021 Toyota Prius, leather seats, Bose surround stereo, heated seats, everything you want. Which would you rather have now? And you might say, yeah, I'd rather take that Toyota. And so his point was basically be the best that you are. There are a lot of people who walk around and say, I'm a Mercedes, I don't need to practice. I'm a Mercedes, I don't need to do anything. Uh-huh. But those who be the best car that they are, that's the people that you say, ooh, I really like that. That's really special. And I really, realized that even working with a lot of my students when I was a professional, a voice teacher, is that, there was the students who really worked really hard and people were going, wow, they improved so much over the semester. But the kids who had like wonderful talent already, you would hear from folks and they were like, they didn't do that much improvement. And so the fact that you were able to really take your talents and make the best of it, I think was something that the students I taught and one of the lessons I learned too. So I say always be the best and use that to your ability. So whatever you're doing in your career, don't wish you were something else, but actually be the best who you are. And that's kind of what I've taken from there.
I understand that completely. And I think for some people it takes time to develop who they are and to hear themselves objectively and accept who they are. One interesting thing about opera that I'm thinking about is that as a vocalist myself, I've typically only heard myself over microphones, in speakers and in headphones. But I'm thinking possibly with opera that you're really hearing it in a more natural state, unenhanced. Is that kind of
well,
sort of?
One of the things I would say is when you are able to understand your body, right? And what I would say is that we are natural vibrators when we're singing. And so when you're not trying to manufacture a sound, and you clear things up, you actually start to use the full body when you're actually performing.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, I stopped trying to listen to myself, but actually I felt the vibrations in my body.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And then that was basically the part where I knew where things were going. And, you know, one of the other things from a singing standpoint is then I learned how to actually take the voice and you know, they talk about head voice and chest voice. And one of the things I love is like when I was working with my teacher is that we would do some exercises where we actually would learn how to bring the head low and how to bring the chest high and actually how to, you know, mix in between so that you're always utilizing both. It doesn't, you know, basically I was never 100% one or 100% the other. There's always a little bit of something. So I can always move quickly into the other place because I always had a little bit of that in my sound. So if I was singing low, like right now, I still have a little bit of that head. It's not a lot of a head, but it's still a little bit there. And the other thing I love is the fact that he always said, if you can speak, then you can sing. So that's what he's trying to explain is that if you were sick and you could not speak, he said, don't sing then, because he wanted to connect the speaking voice to the singing voice so that it felt exactly the same. So that when you're moving from your speaking voice into a singing part, this is a natural extension of what you're doing. And so a lot of times people try to change when they're doing their speaking voice to try to manufacture some sort of sound. And all of a sudden they're doing something totally different. Yeah. And it's hard to really manufacture that. But if you actually start to learn how to speak well, and all you're doing is you're just enhancing your speech and you're elongating what you're doing, speaking more dramatically, you know, it's for effect. That's what, you know, singing would be. And so those are things that I started to learn, and that actually freed up. I stopped trying to make a sound. And I basically said, here's what am I trying to express in this text? Yeah. Why am I expressing it? And then that actually freed me up to do it.
Thank you. That was some good stuff to take away. Yeah, I enjoyed that. You know, and there are so many people that have different perspectives on speaking and singing, and yeah, thanks. So you transitioned at some point from, or maybe not, maybe you still perform, do you?
You know, not really. Only when people make me, and that's actually the word is actually make me perform. But like the folks, we're doing something here for the Zoellner Art Center, our Spotlight series, and part of that, they said, you know, we want, it's probably great for you to open it up. So I said, fine, I will do it again. I will sing something. But as of now, it's like I might sing now twice a year, and it's not that long. So, but no, I really don't do much of the singing. Only if folks ask me to go to, a friend will say, can you come do something for me or go do a recital back in my home state? I'll do something like that. But otherwise, it's nothing that I'm, seriously getting any work from.
Sure. So you transitioned at some point from one to the other. Does that have something to do with, maybe making a living? I don't know. Some of us, we hold on to that. We still have to have a quote real job, because it's difficult to make a living as a performing musician.
Yeah, I mean, if I can tell you a little bit about my background and what kind of got me to this arts administration job. So I think part of that is a story. It's unusual, I would say, for myself. Is in grad school, I worked at this company called Venture. It's kind of like a Target. And when I was there, I was very good at spotting shop. And when I would see someone, I said, I think this person has a fake credit card. I think this person is going to steal something. I would tell security, and then they would be very happy and they would get a shoplifter. So the regional director of asset protection asked me if I wanted to come work for them. And I asked if it was going to be more money. And they said, sure. So then I ended up doing that as part of my job. So when I ended up moving to the East Coast to pursue more singing, one of the things that I needed to do, I needed to find a job. So actually, I applied at Macy's, and when I was there, I was a detective working at Macy's, and the very first day that I worked at Macy's, I spotted someone shoplifting, and it ended up being a $1,700 shoplifting case. All the people that were there were very shocked, like, who is this new guy? How is he actually getting like a shoplifter on his very first day? And then from there, all the folks who were there for a while kept asking me for help. And since my degree is in music education, as an educator, I told folks what I did, and I share with them my the way I looked at things and how I saw the world. It was a little bit different than them. And then from there, I ended up being a lead detective, a assistant security manager, a security director, assistant operations manager at Macy's. And then I ended up going to the Container Store in New York, and I became the loss prevention manager for the New York area, and I was the regional manager for this East Coast. And that kind of got me on this track of actually doing something. I was really good at it. But then I realized that I was so far away from my passion, so far away from music, that I had to reevaluate that. And so my wife and I sat down and I said, I want to go back and do something and what I got my degree in, something I have a passion for. And the other thing I just happened to be just good at the other area. And so in 2008, right in the middle of another recession, I ended up quitting my job, and I ended up teaching at this all-black high school in Newark, St. James Prep. I was teaching there, and I was teaching at Monmouth University as an adjunct. I was teaching at Bergen Community College as an adjunct there, at Westchester Community College as an adjunct there, and also at the Ridgewood Conservatory teaching private voice lessons. And I was working more hours than I ever did working at the Container Store, but I was actually enjoying everything I was doing. And, it was the passion of actually being able to get back into the arts and really do the thing that I had a passion for. My dean at Westchester Community College ended up being the vice president of academic affairs at this college, Ocean County College. And when a job opened up there, I ended up applying for it. And when I went there for the final interview, she saw me and she recognized me. And she was like, "Don't I know you?" I said, "Yeah, I used to work at Westchester Community College with you, where you were the dean." She's like, "Were you full time there?" I was like, "No, I was just an adjunct." And I said, "Well, here's all the letters that you signed telling me how great of a teacher I was. I wanted to bring them to you to show you how much you need to actually hire me for this job." And so during the course of that interview, she had prepared me for my interview with the president of the college. And halfway through that interview, the president of the college asked me, he said, "I want to ask you a question. How would you make us the center of the arts on the Jersey Shore here at Ocean County College?" And so I thought it was kind of an interesting question to ask, since the fact that I was actually applying for a job as a lecturer in music. So I answered the question. I guess I answered it well. They ended up hiring me. And then a few months later, the vice president started speaking to me, and she said, "You know what? You have an administrative brain. I like the way you think. You think differently than everyone else. And I want you to help out. We're going to get this major gift from a family foundation, and I think you should be someone that's really intimately involved in this." And so that's actually how I started getting involved in arts administration, because this vice president of academic affairs, saw this potential in me, and she, guided me in that direction.
That's a wonderful story. Wow. I love that. I love things like that, how people sort of develop themselves along the way, and then somebody recognizes all of that. So that was you said Ocean County College.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of obscure to me. I don't it's not one of those that you hear about often. As New Jersey. You mentioned Monmouth University. Quite familiar with that. They have that Monmouth University has quite a reputation now. As you hear them on NPR all the time.
Yeah.
Their leader. What do they have? They're
I think they have
polls, right?
Yes, the Monmouth University polls. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't telling you. I guess the other thing I wanted to share with you is, like, I was, I think it's important to understand that I think her giving me that opportunity was so important.
Yeah.
She was a Chinese American woman, and she looked at this African American male to get him into this job. It was a job I never saw before in my life, someone who was like me in that position. And and what I share with people here is that in the state of New Jersey, there are not, and even across the country, there are not many people of color who are at my level in the arts.
And I would think that that would be more common in New Jersey than it is in Pennsylvania. So
You mean more folks of color in New Jersey, you think?
I would think, just because having grown up there, I think, and knowing a little bit more of the culture and the climate there, there's quite a lot more diversity in the entire state of New Jersey than there is in any of the cities here in the Lehigh Valley, at least. So
the
that's
state of New Jersey.
Yeah.
New Jersey itself is very diverse, but it's actually very segregated. Also, if you know, it's like pockets of folks.
Yes. Yes.
Overall, the state has a lot of diversity. And the town I lived in, South Orange, was a very diverse town, and that was something that I loved about there, and that was one of the reasons why I looked in the valley. Is that I see in the valley a lot of the same things that attracted me to South Orange. And I think having all the different colleges and universities here also brings more diverse thoughts and more thoughtfulness in the way we look at the world.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that as well. And the south side of Bethlehem is, I don't know if I would call it a bit of a microcosm, as opposed to the entire city of Bethlehem. The south side is a little bit more of a unique personality in itself, similar to downtown Easton. There's yes, to what you're saying. That academic culture helps to create. I think that diversity and that acceptance of doing things a little differently than they've always done.
And the other part I think is the other diversity I see in the Lehigh Valley is that this area is urban, suburban, and rural.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see a lot of that. It's really so segmented that it takes people a while to actually connect with other areas, where you can live in the inner city and never even suburbs at all, or you can live in the suburbs and really never go to rural areas of parts of even New Jersey or other places. But here in the Lehigh Valley, you can just head out and like in 10 minutes, you're out in the rural area. And you had 10 minutes, you're in an urban area.
The 10 minutes, that's the 10 minutes. Yeah. And like you say, in New Jersey, it's more like 20, 30, 40, 50. It's farther apart. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And so, I was, when I saw that you had, got this wonderful position at Zoellner, I was just like applauding from my seat that was wonderful. And so how do you feel? Do you feel like this is a good fit? Do you feel like you've been like embraced and we're like, let's do great things someday?
The wonderful thing I can say about Lehigh University is the onboarding that they've done here is really top notch. It's been great, and the communication that they have, and even in the middle of this pandemic, the people who I've had an opportunity to meet, be welcomed. That is actually something you can never do, because you can only make that first impression once, and when you're welcoming someone to a new organization. And I think it's similar to, some of those great organizations that really have that strong culture of what they want for people to feel and embrace. And so, yeah, I feel that not only at Lehigh University, but also within the greater Lehigh Valley community. We live in Allentown, and the folks here, even though we're not able to, meet everyone at the same time, our neighbors here have been very welcoming to us. And it's a place where it seems like that folks really enjoy getting to know each other and also spending time together.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Um, you When did you actually come into the position at Lehigh, at Zoellner?
Yeah, so I started on July 31st, and
Okay,
then we didn't actually move here until September 8th.
September.
Yeah, and see, the way my brain works is I just I'm as a singer, I have um, the right brain artistic side of me that I do, but I'm also a very logical person. I was, as a child, very good at math. I was able to crunch numbers really quickly. I love baseball cards and running numbers. That was things I did as a child. And the way I looked at the job at Lehigh, as I said, the distance from my house in South Orange to Lehigh is exactly the same distance from my house to Ocean County.
Yeah, yeah.
So I said, if there's a pandemic and I can't end up moving, if I can't move here, if I have to do the same commute, it's no different than my commute that I
hmm
had before.
And slightly less traffic, I would say. 78's a little different from the Parkway.
Well, people drive crazy on 78. I've never
They
seen so many
do.
accidents in my
They
life.
do. They Yeah. Well. Um. Oh. Shoot. So July. I'm just thinking about this whole timeline. You start this job in July. Um. What sort of duties? What's the job encompass for the executive director at Zoellner Arts Center?
I mean, right now, one of the things I started to do when I was here was really just listen and ask questions,
hmm
just so I can understand. For me, I think the arts are so important because the arts is what can bring people together, and I want to take that same artistic approach, mentoring the staff and understanding the community. And so I knew that I had a certain set of biases about the arts and about where I was and about how I did things. And so I challenged myself to make sure I would put that to the side, but also be open to understand the things that worked well here at Lehigh and at the Zoellner Arts Center, and not come in trying to fix everything or saying things were wrong. And part of that was actually understanding a common language with the staff too and agreeing on that. So a lot of things that, the way that folks talk, we do say some things are similar. And also working at a higher ed institution, there's certain things you say also. And there's certain things that are different. So I had to make sure, and I would say it in my language and say, is this what you mean in this language? And then I would then move my language to theirs. So it was
That's
actually, yeah.
very interesting. I come to this from a very small arts organization. You may not know this, but I do chair the board at Godfrey Daniels, which is right down the street. It's a very small arts organization. It's been in Lehigh Valley since 1976, but we don't have an executive director. We have we started out as a grassroots organization and so have eventually developed a position for a managing director. So the comparisons between these things, something like a Touchstone Theater, which has another small arts organization, is very different from what you're bringing. Obviously, you're working on a completely different budget, of course. And bringing different programming, and you're able to reach visual, right? You have visual arts under your program, and also performing arts, which includes theater, which includes music, which includes orchestra. Is there some of that?
Yes.
And also some of the Lehigh arts, right? The actual arts within the university, not just bringing in outside shows.
Yeah, the Lehigh Arts Gallery is actually run by William Crone and his team there, and the gallery itself is actually housed at the Zoellner Arts Center.
Okay, so I thought, yeah. So it's interesting watching the side by side of these. You're talking about the arts and how it's important for everyone, and the different levels of how we're all being affected in different ways. We briefly talked earlier about the National Independent Venue Association. I'm going to pop this up on the screen for folks to know what I'm referring to. NIVA is National Independent Venue Association, and using the hashtag Save Our Stages, it's a little easier than trying to find their website right now, but they're working hard to get some legislation, the Restart Act, the Heroes Act, all of this stuff to try to bring, money into the independent venues. And that you said, you got to support every single one of them.
Yes, I mean the impact of the arts, the economic impact of the arts is actually higher than what people would actually think about. Mm-hmm. And when you aren't having a show, think about the folks who are not going to the restaurants anymore or parking their car. Those are all things that are directly correlated to these shows not happening. And even if some folks, want to get dressed up and get a new outfit to come to the show. Yeah. And so it's not just intrinsically us not having a place for us to get together as a community. It's also, like I said, the economic impact that happens too. And those things hand in hand is what's been causing, this crumble issue right now. I think some of the studies show that 40% of nonprofit arts organizations only have 3 months worth of reserves, or 3.5 months worth of reserves. That means that 40% of our nonprofit arts organizations right now are in trouble. Yeah, that's just the truth.
Yes, it is.
They did not have, it's like people don't want them to have reserves. They're like, because you're a nonprofit, why should you be making money? I was like, well, this is the reason why right now we need to have probably at least a good year's worth of reserves, as we see right now, for us to be able to stay vital and do the things in our missions to connect with the community. And for those who do not have that, they have to furlough a lot of their staffs. There was a lot of these smaller nonprofits in New Jersey that I knew that they actually ended up furloughing everyone except for the executive director. And that is going to be very hard for them to then continue the mission itself. And so if the arts are important in your community, and if you don't want to start over from the scratch, it's probably important for people to really, speak to the people in power and let them know why the arts are important in your community. Healthy communities have thriving arts and culture, along with thriving schools, along with thriving healthcare. That's true. But the arts and culture is one of the things I when I look at those communities that are affluent communities, you see they have great arts programs in their school districts too. The parents demand that they have it. And I think it's time for the community to demand that the arts stay alive too. And they want their children to be able to express themselves. So we are basically not giving kids that opportunity to express their feelings. If you have people right now who have anxiety, what better way to let some of that anxiety go than through the arts? To be able to pick up a paintbrush and work with someone to then be able to show on a paper what it is that you're feeling, or to be able to sing a song that is reflecting what's going on inside your heart, or to be able to move your body and dance to let out that frustration. The arts can do all those things for us, but we're not giving that opportunity right now to do it. And that's why it's important for us to have it.
Right. It's one of the conversations I had with a couple of actually art teachers from here in the Bethel Mary School District, talking about the same thing. Back over the summer when the children were not even in school, and they were getting together with them over whatever means they had over the internet, and giving them opportunities to do projects so that they can express whatever they were feeling, going through. They were all at home during the pandemic. They weren't even beginning any kind of learning. And I know last year, I recall I was at Zoellner for, oh my gosh, it was a Christmas time show. Robert Bratt. Anyway, there was a group from Brockville Middle School that came to the show, and it was some sort of outreach program that Zoellner had made it possible for them to come in, and it was part of their music program, and they were able to come in and be part of the show, and that's the kind of stuff that needs to happen hand in hand, with venues like yours, as you're saying, and make sure the schools are involved in all of this. And then, of course, we have no forecast for when we might be able to produce anything and bring people in. You have, it's not so easy for you to present anything virtually, is it?
No. Yeah, because I think a lot of people, honestly, I think a lot of folks are on their computers all day long working,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want to go home and be on their computers too.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it that parents are telling their kids? Too much screen time.
Yeah.
And,
I
and so now what we're doing is we're giving them more screen time, and I think we're like going, nope, but that's not what we want to do.
No.
That's why right now there's a shortage of bikes across the country. There's a shortage of all this stuff because people have said, I'm not going to sit on my screen. I'm going to go out and do something. And I think this is a time for us to be creative in the arts too.
Yeah.
We might have to think about nature and the arts and how we connect those things together. Is it that we combine a kayak ride with actually some sort of outdoor multidisciplinary arts performance where you can experience the arts physically distanced, but also enjoying nature at the same time? I don't know, but I think the folks who look at finding some creative outlets that is high quality will be the ones who will be able to, engage that audience.
I completely agree on that, because there's a push for small venues to make sure that they stay connected with their audience, especially if they're a nonprofit. They probably have a membership. They also have a mission that they want to continue to fulfill, and there's a bit of pressure to make sure you're providing music or programs or workshops or whatever it might be regularly. Just keep going, even if it's over the internet. And I think we might be in a position where we need to say, just as you said, less is more, and think a little bit more creatively, so that we're not chaining people to their screens 24 hours a day.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I'm working on is as a former singer, I do know people in the business, and so I'm trying to work with folks on finding some creative things to do, and working directly with artists to get their mindset of what they can and cannot do and how they can feel safe in doing things also. But also intertwining the arts in other areas too. So not just thinking of just a strict performance, but actually finding other ways to intersect the arts and other avenues. So those are some things that I am working on with some people, and it also connects with things that I did at the Grennan Center, where we were always thinking. Not and just inside of a picture frame of the proscenium stage, but we were trying to think, where is our audience and how can we go where they are and get them back to where we are? So we were always trying to think creatively. One of the things that places that I help run at the Grennan Center was also the Novens Planetarium, where I worked with the planetarium manager there. And we would do, sort of the planetarium was under, as part of my unit. But one of the things we did was we found ways to connect the arts and technology together. And so it made sense for us to think that way too. Where other folks is like, wow, how'd you ever think of that? It's like, well, because I have this resource and I wanted to find ways to connect it together. And we brought in those kind of unique programs that address that. So as I look in Lehigh Valley, I'm thinking, okay, what is something that's similar as what is the natural resources that are here that I can then connect with the arts?
That's a big question.
Yes.
I'm not hearing the answer right now. I'm sure that we're going to leave that question open.
We will, because, people are
forward to
listening.
Oh, of course they are.
People are listening, and I don't want them to steal my ideas.
No, you do not. You do not want that. This is the internet, and it'll get out. Yeah. Do you ever consider? We talked a little bit ago about you teaching. Teaching about the singing and using the voice. Do you think that workshops, since you are in a academic environment, or is there any of that can be? I keep using the word presented, but is that something that people can find value in at this point in time? I know that I know that I had somebody. I was talking with someone in marketing at Martin Guitar, and he said, guitar sales are up. People are buying guitars. They're people who teach. Music lessons are in high demand right now. So is it that? And I'm not just sticking to music. Maybe there are theater workshops that are worth just exploring. Do you think we should explore those kind of things right now?
Yeah, one of the things that I'm working on right now, I will share this one. It's not finalized, but I want to connect the campus community of Lehigh University with the greater Lehigh Valley.
Okay.
And I want to connect with the Lehigh Valley community itself, and also other colleges and universities. Mm-hmm. I come here with that mindset. That's what I've always done. I believe in working together collectively can always help solve problems and combine resources, and you can actually achieve greater results. I reached out to the chair of the dance department at DeSales University, and she and I were talking. She was asking about things that I've done where I was before. And I told her that there is this dance company that I worked with before, Nani Chen Dance Company. It's one of the American dance companies in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and they help present Chinese dance. And in my community at Ocean County, for a lot of students, it's the first time they ever saw someone who was Chinese American. And to see a dance company was great. Yeah. So what I shared with her is that Andy, who is the executive director for Nani, and I were talking about trying to do something on Lehigh. And he was looking for a partner for a program, and he knew that because of the way I think and that I love the avant-garde, we'll say. Mm-hmm. That he approached me about another group he's working with. It's a dance group, a hip hop dance group from Brooklyn. From the Bronx, Quick Step and Rockefeller, and they have a hip hop dance company there, and they want to combine Chinese dance and hip hop dance together. Oh. And they showed how hip hop dance was actually influenced by a lot of kung fu films. And so I said, that's a great idea. Let me start talking to some people and start see if I can get some interest in people. So I spoke with the director of the Asian Culture Studies at Lehigh University, and I explained to her what this program was. She was excited about it. I spoke to the person who does the dance, like I said, at DeSales. I spoke with a person who does student affairs at Lehigh University about how to connect with some of the student clubs, like the STEP clubs. And that's what we talked about. It's like, so we said, let's not think about just the performance. Let's think about this capacity building. Let's think about a 12-month, 18-month program where we might start off doing something that's virtual, then do something that's face-to-face, and it ends up being a performance. So we're talking about sharing some old Kung Fu films, sharing some old films about the beginnings of hip hop dance, having those teachers do some workshops via Zoom with some of the students about Chinese dance and about hip hop dance, having them bring in a Chinese brushstroke artist, bring in a graffiti artist, and talk about that itself. And working in particular with the dance students to really get them engaged, so then we can see the best of them, to see they might be able to be a part of the performance itself too. Bringing the community together and face to face to do like an old school style hip hop dance party with like a couple of turntable artists from like Brooklyn and the Bronx, and have them come here and really show that community engagement of that. And then as we start to talk about these things, the intersectionality between what's going on with COVID-19, with the Chinese American population, and what was going on with George Floyd and African American community. It's about showing how these two communities have been negatively affected over the past weeks, but we want to have dialogue and show how the arts can bring these two diverse communities together. And then have that performance. So the performance to me is I shouldn't say the afterthought, but it's the culmination. But what I want to do is it's that community building. That's what I explained even during my interview process, is that I like to bring in projects where we're not just doing presenting something,
right?
But I want to tell people, why are we doing what we're doing? Mm-hmm. Because if people don't know why we're doing what we're doing, why should they come? And one of the ways to get them to know is to start to have that conversation and to say that the arts are important. The arts have impact. We can bring community together. And so, as to answer your question about workshops, yes, this is what we're talking about. It's like, let's do these workshops, but it's not just a virtual workshop. It's a part of this whole package that we're going to get together someday in the future, so that people don't feel like, oh, it's only a Zoom thing and we're going to be done. It's like, nope, we're going to do this in Zoom. The next thing we're going to do is that we're going to get together. We're going to have a dance party, and then we're going to get together and we're going to see it on the stage. This sort of something we can look forward to, and we can all be a part of that together.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That takes the workshop, but it involves so many different people at so many different levels, and there's so much to be learned from it all. Well, I hope to be kind of want to be a part of that. That's cool. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're opening up to the community, and right now, I guess the great thing is the world premiere is going to happen here at Baker Hall. Because they have not done it itself, and we're part of that process, and we started that conversation. And to me, it's I enjoy that slow marinating of food, and not the quick, microwave food. I love, you smell it, and as it's cooking for a couple of hours, you kind of like keep walking in the kitchen. You're going, that smells good. And I think that's similarly what I'm looking at here is like, I want to see the things we're doing. It's like it's simmering over time. People are going, oh, I can't wait. And it's like this excitement of like, I can't wait to get to the stage to see that. And it's like, not yet. You can't have a taste yet. You gotta wait. It's not done.
Slap their fingers.
Yes. Get out of my kitchen.
You reminded me of my father now. Get out, get out, get out. Wow, wow, that's cool. Yeah. So, I'm very much looking forward to that. So okay, so this gives you things. There are things that are you're in the works now. Even though, do you have much of a student population on campus right now? Are they
Um,
all there?
yeah, it's just a freshman right now.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, one of the things that we're trying to do is we're we're also trying to find ways for us to really connect with the students.
Hmm.
Also, that to me is also very important. It's like I'm on a college campus, and I want to bring the students and the community together. I don't want, I could program just for the students or just for the community. And to me, it seems like that's a waste. I think if you're a college and you're part of a community, you want to be a part of the community. You don't want to be
Yeah.
segmented from the community. And I think the arts centers are the ones that can be that bridge that connects people together. So, like I said, we don't have a lot of students right now, but my goal is over time is that we get a lot of excitement from students that they want to be a part of what we're doing, and then they want to be our ambassadors into the community, and they're going to be saying, what can we do to really get more actively involved in the community?
So you have the opportunity, being part of Lehigh University, is to involve groups like groups that are on campus, whether they be social groups, cultural groups. I'm not familiar with all of them that you might have there, but and getting them involved, maybe as you're talking about building the community. That's I could see that as a way to involve and have them take that out to the people in the community that they might be able to touch through their specific group. Let's just say the LGBT group that's on campus right now might be able to work something in with them where they can take it out to the greater community.
Yeah,
And
let's use that as an example.
yeah.
Let's take that as a great example, and how the arts can actually help in that area. And that's what I think is that the arts can actually be that conduit they really connect together and help people better understand. And I don't think you can make someone believe whatever. But what you can do is have conversations in a civil way, or actually use the arts, I think, to explore those things too. And let's say the LGBTQ community said they don't feel comfortable leaving Lehigh University campus because they feel like the folks might be looking at them a certain way and not respecting them the way that they should. I think then, as an art center, what we can do is we can actually start to have those communications and build over time some programming that addresses that and show how we all can connect together and find that same programming and work with LGBTQ students to find programming that they cannot bring in, find maybe speakers they cannot do, and work with us to bring that on our stage, and then have those shows, conversations, chat backs with the artists and the community together. And that's what I think we can do more of that, because I think people are willing to be open-minded as long as you're not shoving something to say down their throat, but you are starting to listen and go where they are and try to understand and engage, not be afraid of discussion, but really have a plan on how you're going to address it, and come up with a long-term plan and not just try to do one thing. So there was like a group that I saw. There's this group in Minnesota, and it's these binary opera singers. And I thought this would be the coolest thing in the world because they all can sing really well. And there's trans artists, non-binary artists, gay artists, all performing this opera. And the story is so intriguing. The sets are cool. And I thought that would be a kind of an interesting thing to bring here to Lehigh Valley. But before I would do that, I want to engage with the community and explain to them the storyline, explain to them the history of this organization that we're bringing here, explain to them why it's important to show them this art and not just pop it on the stage one day and hope they buy tickets. And I think that's where they would appreciate that conversation ahead of time, so they have some buy-in. Not to say that if a bunch of people say you can't have it, don't do it, but actually start things to continue to engage that conversation and then continue to bring them on our stage as something that we would present.
Yeah, that concept of really explaining it ahead of time, I think is so important.
Yeah, because it's what I did. In Ocean County is we have to have conversations with people all the time. I always believe I never had the luxury of just demanding someone to buy my ticket or demanding that they appreciate what I brought in as a person who was an artistic director, also as an executive director there. But artistically, I knew that I wanted to stretch the community a little bit, but we explained to them, why we were doing it too. We were able to build a whole series of cultural programs, and we explained is that in Ocean County, 86% of the people in Ocean County were white. A lot of the folks who are born there stay there in that county, and they never go out into the world. So as a college, we said it's our mission to help educate our future students, help educate our community by bringing the world to them and preparing those students who actually maybe never came in contact with a strong woman of color, so they could see that before they leave that county. How shameful would it be that we have some student who lives 18 years of their life in Ocean County, they go somewhere across the world and they felt so unprepared because they were so sheltered.
Yeah.
We're setting them up for failure.
Yeah. Yeah. I can relate to that as someone. I grew up in Sayreville, New Jersey, and in the 70s and 80s, I can tell you that Sayreville, New Jersey, and Middlesex County, where I was probably the same, that 86% white, if not higher than that, with tiny pockets. So yeah, that bit of sheltering is very real. I know myself, leaving there, and never going to college and never experiencing anything other than that bit of, white middle class New Jersey. That's very, very, very interesting, very important. Yeah. Wow. I can see that once we get rolling, once you can really, really get rolling, Zoellner Art Center is going to be a little different than some of us might have ever known as well, and that's very cool as well. Got a few, just a handful of comments here tonight. Loving this concept that you're talking about. Well, we kind of covered like pretty much everything. I think this has been a very cool conversation. Do you have any? I don't know where to go at this point, because there's not a whole lot that's gonna happen all too soon. But I know you have some really, really positive thoughts for what we're going to be able to do. Is there anything you want to add to the what we've been talking about?
Well, all I would add is that I look forward to meeting everyone soon, face to face, and I look forward to embracing the Lehigh Valley. And so far, the folks that I met so far has given me that warm embrace and showed me what Lehigh Valley has to offer. And I'm excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to add my voice to to those, and then I hope to be able to move the needle for the community.
I think you will, for sure. Very, very much so. I look forward to meeting you in person, and maybe your entire family. That would be nice too. And are you going to get involved in anything other than the work where you are? I know I'm sorry. You have children. That is your first priority. You have to, be involved with all of that first. But there's always people are always going to be knocking on your door. Come do this, come do that.
That's true. That's always that possibility. My main focus over this next year is to really set up my team for success and really use this time for a pause to really reflect on what we're going to do going forward. So I was hired by Lehigh University to help lead the Zoellner Art Center, and that's where my focus is going to be for a while.
All right. That's good. Good to hear. Thank you so much, Mark.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, you're going to have to do what I ask everyone to do and give me a high five if you can on the screen. It's not easy. Can you do it?
Oh, wrong one. This hand. Wait.
There
we go.
That was the best one yet. All righty. I appreciate it very much. Mark Fitzgerald Wilson, Executive Director at Zoellner Art Center at Lehigh University. Wonderful talking with you. And one quick thing I want to mention to everyone, that 10% of any tips, if you feel like donating anything to this program, since this is completely a labor of love on my part, 10% of that is going to Turning Point of the Lehigh Valley. And if you haven't heard, domestic abuse is on the rise right now. And Turning Point is an agency that provides resources and services for those folks right here in our community. So it's paypal.me/DNall2020. And I thank you very much. All right. I will see you on the south side. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. And upcoming in the next couple of weeks, on October 21st, Michael Cloran, my friend Michael Cloran, is going to be right here with us. He is currently manager at Penn's Peak in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. But in the past, he is more known as the founder and producer of the Pocono Blues Festival, which ran from 1992 through 2016. And he has also overseen over 150 national and regional music festivals over the last 130 years. I'm sorry, 150 national and regional music festivals over the last 30 years. He's not that old. And then on October 28th, Sarah Craig, who is, I believe, executive director at Cafe Lena, Saratoga, New York, and Ramona Labar, from managing director at Godfrey Daniels in Bethlehem, and they are colleagues with similar stories in that they're both managing decades-old nonprofit listening rooms that are definitely affected financially by this pandemic as well. So we'll be talking with them in the next couple of weeks. So thanks everyone for tuning in tonight. And don't forget, National Independent Venue Association, Save Our Stages. Save Our Stages. I give you the website, but it's easier to just do a Google search because you might confuse some of the letters that are in there. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll be back with you in a couple of weeks. I'm going to take next week off and do some self-care. All right, see you soon.